Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Basit Ismail, and the topic that I am going to discuss is building blocks of programming from the subject computer programming with the code 6900. So the first topic in this computer programming is primitive data types. The primitive data types are the basic data types. When we talk about primitive data types, we are talking about basic data types which are present in a specific computer language. Okay, so 4 of them represent integers, meaning they are related to integers and they are related to numerical values, and these are bytes, short, int, long. These 3 are all similar to integers, they are form of integers. However, byte is related to bits. 4 bits make up a byte. Okay, so 2 of them represent floating data points, which mean decimals, floats and doubles. Okay, the only difference between doubles is that they take more memory in the RAM. Okay, one of them represents characters. For example, if you have to store A, B, C, D or any string literal, then you use characters. And the last type of the data type is Boolean. Boolean is only used for decision making, be it for true or false. Then there are reserved keywords in a specified language. These words are those words which represent something special or something particular in a language. For example, in C++ we have if, we have switches, we have a lot of reserved keywords. We might have for, while, a number of, and these have special meanings to the compiler. We have discussed compiler. What is it? It is a special program that converts the source code into the object code. So those kind of the words are called reserved keywords. Also in C and also in C++, we have reserved keywords, and they must be lowercase. Lowercase meaning, for example, if you have for, then all of the letters of the for must be lowercase. There should not be any capital. You cannot write it like this. If you write it like this, then that would be a syntax error. Okay. Some examples of reserved keywords it is giving to you: const, double, int, and return. Okay, return is used mostly with functions, which we will discuss in chapter or unit number 4. Okay, so then after that we have variable. A variable is a name for a location in a memory. For example, when you are dealing with memory, you have multiple locations in the memory. You might be storing 5 here, A here, B here. So we have to have a placeholder name for accessing these values. Those placeholder names are called variables. Okay. And then what does this say? It says that a variable must be declared. Must be declared meaning you have to tell the compiler that we are using that this placeholder is going to be used. Okay. What else does it say? It says that multiple variables can be declared in the same declaration. What does it mean? It means that you can declare multiple. You can give names for multiple placeholders. 3 placeholders here right now. All 3 of them are of what type? Int type. They are all integers. We can store whole number values from negative values as well and positive values as well. If they are assigned, then we can store negative values. If they are unsigned, then we can only store positive values. Okay, that's it. Okay, then we have to initialize the variables. When you have declared the variable, the basic syntax of variable declaration is something like this. You can just write the data type, and then you write the name of that particular placeholder or variable. I am going to stop using the word placeholder because the most appropriate word for this specific placeholder or memory location is called a variable. So you have a memory, and then you have different variables storing here. X is here, Y is here, maybe a name is here, a different, And then we have when we have declared the variable, we have to give it a specific value. When we give that specific value to the variable, it is called variable initialization. And however does this word come from? Initialization comes from initial, and initial means the first one, the preeminent one. So initial value means the first value which we are giving, right? So we have declared and we have defined. We can say initialization and we can say definition. So here we are defining the keyword and we are initializing it also. Both mean the same thing. Okay. We are defining a keyword variable named sum, just a random variable with the value of 0. We have base with the value of 30, max with the value of 149. The only difference between this declaration and this declaration is that in the first declaration, we are declaring and initializing only one variable. In the second declaration, we are declaring two variables. Okay, that's it. What does it say? It says when a variable is referenced in a program, its current value is used. What does it mean? It means that if you have declared a specific value, a variable with a specific value, whenever you ask for that specific value, you have to use that variable. So in this case, if we had declared int key is equal to 68, then we can access the value of 68 or 88 or whatever that value is by calling on keys. Okay. So what is assignment? Assignment is the change of value. If you have declared a variable, and you want to change its value, or you want to initialize its value, both of these will be called assignment. You are assigning a specific value to the variable. Variable is just a name for a specific memory location in the RAM, and then when you are giving it a value, it is called initialization, but at the same time it is also called as definition, and also at the same time if the value is being changed, then you call it assignment. And how does it an assignment of a variable occurs? It occurs by using two different you can say keywords. You have to use a variable, you have to use the operator sign, this is called equal operator, and then you have to use a specific symbol which is called semicolon. When you use all of these in combination, you are basically assigning the specific value to that particular variable. Okay. So how does this expression, all of this is called expression, how does this expression is evaluated? It is evaluated on the right, meaning that first the value is accessed and then this value is stored in this particular placeholder. What does it say next? It says that the value previously stored in the variable is changed. For example, if the total had a value of 20, then when we will say total equal to 50, what will happen? What will happen is that the value of 20 will get replaced by the value of 50. So the value of 50 will be there if you try to access that particular variable. Okay. The last thing is the most important, consistency. For example, if you have total and you try to assign it a value of a, it will not work because this is an integer type of a variable and what you are assigning it is a character. So you have to be consistent. Character type values only can go in character type of variables. Integer type of values can only go in integer type of variables. That is how all of these data type consistency works in programming languages and also in C++. Then we have constants. When we give a constant, we have to use a specific word, keyword which is called const, and this particular value is not changed throughout the execution cycle of the program. So you can declare it in this way, you give a specific value and then that variable is particularly declared. How does constant, integer constant and floating point constant behave? It says that the commas are not allowed in the integers. For example, if you have declared a constant, then you can't use a comma right there. Okay, you can't use it. In the case of floating points, only decimal points are allowed. You can even use scientific notation or conventional. What does conventional mean? It means that you are using the normal definition, and by scientific notation we mean in the form of scientific notation in the form of specific values. Next. Okay, so the next thing that we have to discuss is C++ expressions. Usually what happens is that in programming languages we have to perform certain operations, be it sum or subtraction or multiplication, all these kind of. So whenever we do, we have to store that particular result in a variable. So for example, if we have an integer int x and the value of it is dependent upon two different variables, then this statement, this would be called a statement or an expression. And the expression, what does an expression mean? It means it consists of operators, and then it consists of both of these are operands, a and b are operands. Okay, so The placeholder for the memory will be called the variable placeholder. I will stop using that word. The variable will be called operand, and the functionality or the expression, arithmetic expression that you are trying to use with it, it would be called an operator. Okay. So, that is what it is discussing. Combination of operands and operators form an expression. So, this would be called an expression. Okay. So, what does it say? What does it discuss about it? Expressions are sequences of operators, operands and punctuators that specify a computation. So, whenever you are trying to compute something, for example, we have age and we are trying to calculate it from birth day plus birth month or some formula. So, what will happen? We will combine them and we will try to use them in the form of an expression. Evaluation of an expression is based on the operators that our expression contains and the context in which they are used. What does it mean? It means that if you have a statement x equal to a minus b and int x equal to a plus b, it means that the value of this will be dependent upon the operators that you are using and the operands and the values of the operands. For example, if a had value of 5, b had a value of 6, the first expression will lead to 11 and the second expression will lead to minus 1. Minus 1 because 6 is having a larger value as compared to 5. Okay. A side effect, what does it mean by side effects? It says that expression can result in the value and can produce side effects. Even though the word seems as a negative word, has a negative connotation, however, side effects just mean that it will result in a change. Side effects here in the context of programming only mean change. For example, if we had a equal to 5 int b equal to 10 and we declared int c equal to 7, for example, and then we later change on it to from c equal to a plus b. Then what will be the side effect? The side effect will be that these two values will be added and then they will be stored in the c. So, the value of c will become 15. So, in that particular case we would say that the side effect has occurred or the change has occurred. Okay. So, here it goes on into a little bit more detail and gives an example of C++ expressions. An expression is a valid set of literals, variables, operators, operands and expressions. An expression can also itself have an expression, meaning C++ expression can be made of two expressions. I will give an example. For example, if you have something like this, if you are comparing two statements, then this is first expression and this is second expression. So, an expression can itself be made up of two different expressions. So, it is related, it is you can say it is related to recursion or related to nested calculations. And then what does it say? It says that the expression usually result in a value. Expression give us a value, and a value can be a number or it can be a string. It can even be a logical value as well. Logical meaning true or false. So, the result can be a number, a string or true or false. Okay. So, we have an expression a equal to b plus c and the value of a is dependent upon if we know a little background of math, then we know that if we have certain variables or certain integers, then the value of a is dependent upon the value of b and the value of c. There are different types of operators in C++ language. Unary plus, what does it mean? It does not change anything. If you are you have declared int a equal to 5 and then you use this particular expression, then this will not change any sign. However, in the similar case, if you have declared int a equal to 5 and then you do, then the sign of that particular expression would be reversed. If it was positive, if it was a positive number, it would become a negative number. If it was a negative number, it will become a positive number. Then we have four more expressions, operators. The first operator is increment. The second operator is decrement. The third operator is also increment with pre, and the second last operator is decrement with pre. What does it mean to have post increment and pre increment and post decrement and pre decrement? whenever you have declared a variable int a equal to 5 and then you use post decrement, what will happen is that if you try to print this variable, then it will first print the value which is equal to 5 and then change it the value to 6. It is adding +1 to that particular variable. Similarly, if you have declared a variable and you use post decrement to it, it will print a value of 5, it will use a value of 5 and then change the value to 4. It will -1 from it. However, opposite is the case for pre-increment and pre-decrement. If you use pre-increment to a, what will happen is that the value of a will change to 6 and then it will be printed. And if you use pre-decrement to a, then what will happen is it will change the value of 5 to 4 and then it will print it. So, the difference between both of these is that the change of the value, where does it occur and when will it be printed. If you are using post increment, then the value as it is will be printed and then it would be changed. If you are using pre increment or pre decrement, then the value would be changed first and then printed. So, that is the difference. Then we have two more operators which are related to variables in C++, and this is the first operator is called the address operator or the ampersand operator. This operator is used to print the address of the variable. Whenever we store a specific variable in the memory, that memory has a particular address attached to it. For example, this will have, and this cannot be changed. This is dependent upon the operating system that we are using. So, if we have declared here the value of 5 and this has the address, we want to access the address to do some manipulation with it, then we will use this particular address of operator or the ampersand operator. It will just give you the address of the particular variable. Then there is another variable which can be, there is another operator which can be used with variables, and that operator is called the pointer variable or the address operator. So, what can be done is that you can either use the value of x directly by calling upon x, or you can use the value of x, you can store the value of x through its address to another variable and then use that variable to print the value of x. So, if you use that, then we are using the indirect, then we are using a pointer to variable and then printing that particular value. So, here we have some examples related to the main concepts that we have discussed today, programming examples. So, if we are trying to go over them one by one, we are just declaring a directive over here, input output stream. We are discussing the input output directive so that we can deal with printing something on the console or taking some value from the user, So, if we come and the namespace directive, why do we use it? Because these functions cout and cin is not present here. However, cout and these functions are present in this particular namespace. So, we start from the main function or the driver function, which is int main, and then we declared a variable. Like I have discussed, we have to declare variables and give them values. Here we are declaring the variables in the same line and also defining it. We are defining it because we are giving it a value also. If we had just written int x, then this would be called a declaration. However, because we are giving it also a value, it will also be called an assignment, initialization and definition. All three of these will be applicable to this particular statement or this particular statement. And then we are printing a specific specific message that we want the user to see. Original value of x, it will just printing the original value. Then it is first it is doing post increment, then it is printing the value of x after post increment, then pre increment, then post decrement and then pre decrement. So, we will go over it one by one. So, if we have the value of 5, we come over to this slide and here the value is getting printed. What would be the value of x? It would be still be 5, even though it is post increment, the value is changing, but it is printing the value first and then changing it. When the value has changed here already, what does it happen? That the value has already changed in the previous statement. So, here the value will be 6. Now, the value will be 6. In the next statement, we are doing pre-increment. So, what does a pre-increment mean? Pre-increment means that you are changing the value first and then printing it. So, we are changing the value from 6 to 7 and the 7 will get printed. And then what we are doing post decrement. So we are changing the value but printing it first. So 7 will again be printed and then the value will change to 6. Here we come and we print the value, 6 will come. Now we are doing pre-decrement. So when we do the pre-decrement, then the value will change first. It will decrease by one number, by one value. It will become 5 and then it will get printed. So that is how this program will work. We have another example of simple basic mathematical operations. I will just go on over the statements which are relevant. So we have declared two variables, a equal to 10 and b equal to 3. We add them, we get the value 13. We minus 3 from 10, we get 7. Here we have 13, here we have 7, we multiply them, we have 30, we divide it, we get 3. It will convert, even though we get the value in a floating point, however, because we are just printing it, then it will convert it into an integer value. So we will get 3. And then we are taking the ampersand sign, and what does ampersand mean? It gives you the remainder of that particular division. So if we simplest operation, if we perform the simplest operation, we get the value of 1. So here 1 will be printed. That is it for today. Our lecture on building blocks of programming from subject computer programming 6900. Thank you.